Hello and welcome everyone to the presentation of the HR mandate. I will be reading the presentation instructions and then let the judges introduce themselves. You have 15 minutes to present your solution to the judges. Time will be started as soon as you start your presentation. You can track the time, of course, on the Cuckoo link. The judges cannot interrupt you during your presentation. Following your presentation, the judges will have a 5-minute question period to clarify certain elements of your presentation. Please note that during the question period, if a team member is speaking when the time is up, he is allowed to finish his sentence. I will now let the judges introduce themselves, and then you may begin your presentation.
Hi everybody, my name is Myriam Montpetit. I'm working in HR as an HRBP since more than 15 years, currently working in engineering business. And it's a pleasure for me to be part of this jury today, since I used to be on your side as a participant when I was at university. So welcome to everybody, and I look forward to hear from you. Thanks.
Hi everyone, I'm Audrey Ayotte. I'm a Human Resources Director in Real Estate. I've been working in HR for about a little bit more than 15 years. So I'm really looking forward to see what you've got for us today.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Lacroix from Cidrerie Lacroix. I'm Finance Manager for the company. I can't wait to hear your solution. So have a good presentation.
Hi all, I'm Etienne, Commercial Manager for Lacroix. I handle everything related to marketing, innovations, and brand awareness. Pretty happy to be here today. Can wait to see your deck. I've done many competition as well, so I know what it is. I can just wish you good luck and good success.
So you can start whenever you want.
Thank you. As you know, starting a family business is so rewarding and exciting, but it can also be challenging, mainly when we're facing with growth while trying to stay true to who we are. But don't worry, Cidrerie Lacroix. My team, composed of Carly and Isabelle and myself, Marie-Jeanne, are Cheers Consulting. And today we are here to provide you with everything you need to come up with a long-term recipe for success. Let's begin. You asked us to come up with a compensation and recruitment and retention strategy for your company. To answer that mandate, we observed change management, recruitment, and retention challenges, and we created the delicious recommendation, the perfect family recipe, which we will present to you later on. I will now pass it over to my colleague Isabelle, who will walk you through the preparation of your recipe.
Thank you, Marie-Jeanne. So let's dive deeper into the analysis. When looking at the 3 key pillars here, we can look at the first question. How can Lacroix ensure employee satisfaction throughout their organizational changes? But what are the changes that are going on right now? We can see that there is digitalization, you have a new performance evaluation system, you have a change in workflow as well as culture. But why is change management so important? Well, we can see that many employees that are currently experiencing change experience prolonged stress as well as physical health ailments. And this is important because there is a risk of losing expertise as well as organizational knowledge, such as with your cider maker. Therefore, change is stressful and stressed employees are costly. So in order to ease the transition of any changes, Lacroix must ensure that they keep in mind their employees' health and wellness. So how do we help our employees through this change? Well, many employees actually do worry that digital transformation will cost them their jobs. But it's important to note that actually coaching others in the new ways of working creates a more successful transition, as the #1 reason for change failing is the team's resistance. So how do we really make change last? How do we make it stick? Well, it's about clearly communicating a reason and a vision for change, underlining what's changing, what's not, providing support and encouraging adaptability. So in order to ensure any changes are implemented last, Lacroix must provide support and resources to their employees. So it's important to constantly communicate and create excitement for any new changes. And how can Lacroix position itself as the employer of choice and reach their ideal candidates? Well, what are you doing that's great right now? What makes you an attractive employer? You are an iconic Quebec cider and orchard. You have parties, gifts, branded merch for your employees, and also a lot of your seasonal positions have no experience required. So what are the potential barriers to recruitment? What is holding you back here? Well, there's currently a declining interest in agricultural jobs. You're working in a competitive recruiting environment. Your location is relatively isolated, and your busy season is not really appealing for young students. But how can we overcome these barriers? Well, it's about connecting with people who are already passionate about the brand, providing a unique offering as well as support to ease transportation and promoting flexibility. So in order to build a strong employer branding, Lacroix must respond to the main recruitment barriers when reaching their target candidates. But what does this target candidate look like? Who are the seasonal employees that you're hiring right now? Well, you want Gen Zs, so between 16 and 21, looking for their first job as a student. But what does the typical Gen Z want? They want stability, short check-ins with their managers, they value experiences, and want to learn new skills. So how can we attract them? How can we bring this Gen Z candidate towards us? Well, it's about emphasizing return opportunities, building high-trust relationships, highlighting unique experiences, and promoting personal development. So in order to recruit the Gen Z candidate, Lacroix must provide an attractive offering that responds to their needs and wants. And when we're looking at the cider maker, we want someone who has 3 to 5 years of experience, a good cultural fit, and will be able to adapt to your workplace. And so this includes attracting them using benefits, so monetary as well as non-monetary, such as health and wellness, creating a workplace where they feel appreciated and passionate about. And we want to attract them with this competitive salary, with these competitive benefits, decision-making ability, and access to innovation. And so in order to attract and hire your cider maker, Lacroix must be proactive when recruiting and focus their energy on the right kind of platforms. And so it's important to understand the needs and wants of your candidate personas. And lastly, how can we ensure that seasonal employees actually come back? Well, let's take a look at the employee and manager relationship. How is this affected? So employees in general do want to learn more about how decisions are being made, as the #1 reason for an employee to actually leave a job is poor manager relationships. So what is it like at Lacroix right now? Well, some people find the level of management a bit too family, and there is a lack of consistency when it comes to decision making. But how can we improve this? It comes down to training managers to be effective leaders, as well as encouraging open communication. And so in order to maintain a more effective leadership and boost employee satisfaction, Lacroix must provide their managers with learning and development resources. And when we're looking at a compensation plan that will make them stay, we can see that a pay-for-performance method can actually encourage healthy competition and quantify employee praise. But the real question here is this what employees want? Well, according to several surveys and statistics, employees actually do prefer tiered performance bonuses on a monthly basis. Therefore, in order to motivate employees with monetary benefits, Lacroix should consider compensation increases due to performance. Therefore, boosting employee engagement and investing in management training can really assure that you'll boost your retention rates. So now that we've gathered all of our ingredients, let's take a look at 3 different recipes. We've come up with 3 different alternatives. The Lacroix Academy, so creating a rotational program for seasonal employees where they switch jobs every month. Creating the recipe for success, so recruiting through online and targeted platforms and focusing on health and wellness. And lastly, the Lacroix systems, so installing pre-employment screenings and learning and development systems with strict milestones. And when evaluating the pros and cons of the situation, we've come to the conclusion that the recipe for success is the right way to go about it, as it is the most cost and time effective and really does align with your values.
And now we are extremely excited to present to you today the perfect family recipe, which is a 1-year recruitment, compensation, and retention strategy that is divided in 3 different pillars, starting with Teach, where you will train your management team and create excitement for changes, followed with Share, where you will present your different recruitment strategies, and finally Savor, where you will serve up the perfect compensation strategy. Let's begin with pillar #1, Teach. This is where Cidrerie Lacroix must reassure the employees of the current changes they are facing. In order to do so, you must embrace change within your core values. This is why we suggest that you add adaptability to all of your current values. It will help you normalize uncertainty because change is inevitable. and you need to generate excitement around the announcement of this new value. You could do it, for example, by creating merch with your new slogan, "We adapt." Moving on to your management team. You need to equip them properly if you want them to be effective leaders. To do so, you can create La Croix Leaders, which will be a management playbook. And it is a pool of resources and guidance for managers in order to help them to make consistent decisions. Additionally, we propose that you host a leadership workshop that will help managers to simulate activities and foster a better culture. And one last important resource you could provide them with is hiring an HR manager that will be taking care of all these new initiatives. Moving on, you absolutely need to communicate and reinforce change through the collection and application of feedback. You can also appoint early change adopters as change champions, and you need to provide support to your employees, and you need to motivate them by communicating success, whether they are big or small. And to conclude that first pillar, you need to remember that transparency is the key to a positive culture. Employees want to know what's happening. They want to know the changes that you are facing, so you need to communicate effectively with them through newsletter, memos, and by leveraging your current Microsoft Teams platform. And we also thought about the morale of your employee right now that might be lower because of the pandemic. So we outlined a few fun activities such as yoga classes that you could implement within your daily operations. Moving on to our second pillar, share. This is where you will create recruitment strategies that are tailored to each of your role categories. Right now, the priority is definitely the cider maker and seasonal positions. If we start with the cider maker, you need to focus your energies on the right places in order to headhunt that future employee. You can do it by looking at graduates from institutions that are offering the certifications you required for the role. You can also consider the different online communities that regroup industry professionals, and you should definitely leverage your network with the Association des producteurs de cidre du Québec. Moving on with your recruitment for a seasonal position, it needs to start in May. You can contact candidates from previous seasons and ask them for referrals as well. You can use job posting websites such as Indeed. You should use in-store advertisement, social media sponsored ads to promote job opportunities instead of products. And we suggest that you also consider the high school and CEGEP that are located close to your cidrerie to find potential employees there. When it comes to the actual selection process, you need to make it fun and exciting. Something cool that McDonald's did in the past is the Friends Wanted campaign, where they suggested students to come and apply with a friend, which boosted their reputation as an employer. And when we think about the interview process, we propose that you invite all the applicants to your site to create a welcoming atmosphere and conduct group interviews that would foster interactions between the candidates. Before moving on to the last pillar, how can you be proactive with your recruitment approach? You should definitely leverage your Instagram page and create a direct relationship with your followers. And this is a beautiful platform to post future opportunities. I will now pass it on to Carly for the last pillar.
Thank you, MJ. So now that we've cooked up an amazing recruitment strategy, now it's time to make sure that your employees savor in great compensation. So the first thing we need to look into is monetary and non-monetary compensation. When we dive into our permanent employees and our specialized employees, we know that they're annualized and hourly compensation, and we looked into different costs of this in your area right now. So right now we know that you have a performance monitoring system right now, and we think that you should take advantage of this to basically evaluate your employees on a more infrequent basis. And this would be the basis for looking to pay for performance reviewed at a 2 to 5% increase. When we look at seasonal positions, it's kind of the same thing. We looked at different pays in the area, but we think that in this case, you should be automatically increasing their pay from 2 to 5% every year that they come back, just to encourage them to come back. And it's a more incentivizing way to come back. Based on the fact that you do value trust, and some of your employees might not be seeing this right now, we think that you should be very transparent with your pay scale, and this should be accessible through Teams. This will just create a more high trust environment. When we look at non-monetary benefits, we want to make sure that your employees feel like you see their need in them and you want to invest in them. A couple ways that you can do this: looking into an investment in a health and wellness app like Headspace, looking into accommodating your employees for gas reimbursement for other employees. And we also want to make sure that there's non-monetary benefits for permanent employees. In this case, offering vacation time, maternity leave, and a health and wellness allotment. For seasonal staff, we really want you to encourage emphasis on flex time and options to switch shifts so that they feel like they're valued. When we look into maintaining communication, this is very key to boosting intrinsic motivation. So the way that we do this, and we want you to do this, is to make more frequent informal reviews of two-way feedback. And this can allow you to encourage and reward top performers through verbal appreciation, as well as potentially even handwritten letter from Pascal and Daniel. We also want you to reinforce change, as mentioned by Marie-Jeanne, to basically have smaller huddles every week, as well as create a suggestion box called Add to the Family Recipe, where you can address current concerns at every quarterly meeting. We also want you to constantly meet your employees' needs. The way you can do this is through state interviews for permanent employees, just gathering why they like Lacroix and what doesn't work from them. We also want you to have exit interviews for seasonal employees, encourage them to come back, highlight the benefits, and basically create that candidate pool for next year. Lastly, we want to incorporate a leadership program. This is going to truly bridge the gap between new hires and existing hires and is very effective for the newer generations. This is going to allow you to maintain your culture no matter the employee. Lastly, we want to encourage professional development. So promote learning opportunities for non-specialized employees by allowing them to sign up for shadowing opportunities with maybe different roles that interest them. If it's being a chef, if they're interested in cider making, this is a great way to do so, and encourage your Gen Z employees to feel like they can grow within Lacroix. So we know we've presented a lot of initiatives for you, but we've highlighted all of the ones that should be done and when they should be done and what employees should take care of this. On to impacts. So all of our recommendations have a lot of effect on your environment. So right now, when looking at the employer choice, so the net promoter score and what employees would actually recommend to a friend, before the perfect family recipe, we are at an 8%. After all of this, all of these initiatives, we are at a 46%. In addition, now you'll have a pool of 1,300 potential candidates, 175 applicants for seasonal jobs, and an increased retention rate of 38%. Here's our budget. So this includes the hiring of the HR manager. And when we're looking at risks, these are the different risks. And one of the main ones we identified was a resistance to change. Even though this might be mitigated through feedback, we now have adaptability as a value, and we can really push this through performance evaluations to get your employees motivated to accommodate with this. So we are here today for you, Cédric Lacroix, to take on a compensation and recruitment plan for you to become the employer of choice and ensure long-term retention. So we've done this through the perfect family recipe, and we hope you can carry this from generation to generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if you are all ready, we'll move on to the question period. As we used to do with the judges, just raise your hand when you want to start with the questions. Etienne.
First of all, thank you all for that amazing presentation. I think it was really complete. I'd like to look a bit maybe furthermore on the cider maker position. I understand that you are suggesting we do reach out to specialized school or programs. However, considering this is a really specialized posting, would you maybe go a bit further into how we're going to be able to recruit and retain that person?
So compared to the different positions such as seasonal roles, here for the cider maker, instead of posting about that opening, we suggest that you really headhunt that person. So you need to reach out to these different networks and look into graduates, communities, and the association, as we mentioned, and discuss and see if they have a potential candidate in mind that they could suggest to you. And once they do, when you have those ideas and potential leads, you should reach out to this person automatically and see if there is an interest and discuss the potential job with them and see if there's a fit and be really open to discussion and see how they could be included within your team.
Thanks.
Elisabeth.
Hi, so you talk about the manager training program. Considering as many managers are part of the family, how can you explain more what is the training program and how do we use that training program on two cultural generation of manager?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for your question. And so for the leadership workshop, we do want to host this annually, and it really be almost like a boot camp type of vibe where people get to bond together and learn more about management training. But also, if you go to the previous slide, we have the management playbook, which we want to consider almost like a guidebook, almost like a resource bank where managers will consistently add to this. And this will be great for future generations, as we said, of managers, because the knowledge will be passed on, sort of how to deal with certain situations, how to become effective leaders.
Thanks.
Is there, oh, Elizabeth?
I have another question.
Yes.
You mentioned recruiting the seasonal employees in schools and like high school and CEGEP. How do you suggest we could approach those potential employees?
Yes, thank you for your question. So to reach out to these students, a potential idea would be to post job opportunities on their career centers. So often schools such as CEGEP have portals where you can describe what the role entails. If it's possible, you could also create partnerships with these schools where you could go in, do a workshop about your company, explain what are the different roles that are available. And with that long-term partnerships, people and students will always have you in mind when it comes to looking for a part-time job or a temporary job. Yeah.
Thanks.
Etienne.
I know you showed some sort of top budget. Do you have any breakdown of it? And would you go a bit deeper in it?
Yes, of course. If we go to our budget breakdown in the appendix, we can see that it's divided in 3 phases. The first one is really about change management. So all the cost of the classes, the little water bottles that you could create for your new value, everything is there. Of course, this first phase is more expensive because we included the 1-year salary for the HR manager. Then if we move on to phase 2, here's the recruitment initiatives that you could potentially do. So all the costs for ads, for example, CEGEP partnerships, as well as job posting websites. And the third one is about retention. So all the little care package and memberships you could provide to your employees. So it gives you a total of 85K if you consider hiring the HR manager. If you decide to not go with the HR manager, then it brings it down to 14K as a final budget.
Thank you very much.
Audrey.
Yes, you discussed about hiring an HR manager and an HR responsible. What should be the main priority among all the things that you presented to us?
Oh yeah, so I'll take that question actually. So when we look, we basically highlighted the things that should be done right away. And when we look at that, it would basically be hiring the HR manager. That would be the first thing, because we have so many new initiatives taking on. But other than that, we would say it's really dealing with the change management right now. So making sure that your employees feel heard, taking care of all of that. And then after 2 months, we'd look into more starting the recruitment, as MJ highlighted during the presentation. We'd be starting the recruitment in May. And then the last phase would be throughout as well. So it'd be more with the change management right now, making sure your managers are trained as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'll end the question period. Thank you for the participants. Thank you, judges. So the judges, you can go in the breakout room, please. And for you ladies, thank you. You can leave the meeting now.
Thank you so
Have
much.
a good day.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.